a day it is going to be right here on Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi for what should be an excellent NFL Sunday here on SportsGrid. We have already seen a top matchup on Thursday night with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders battling for the top spot in the NFC East. We'll see a battle for the top spot in the AFC North between Baltimore, who make the trip to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have a monster match, AFC wildcard implications between the Chargers and the Bengals late night. And we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, like we do every year. A regular season showdown between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Lisi, so much on deck.
Oh, this is going to be a great week. Week number 12 is really shaping up to really dictate conference championships and conference titles, and more importantly, playoff odds. This is what it's all about. We talked about Pittsburgh and Baltimore in that AFC battle, but Kansas City and the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo 8-2 overall. They get the victory over Indy last week, 30-20 as a 3.5-point road favorite. They're playing as good as anybody right now. In Kansas City, love them or hate them, all they do is win, Donnie. They eke out a win at home over Denver. We'll see how this plays out. A rematch of last year's playoff win by the Chiefs in Buffalo. We'll see if the Bills can get the win.
The bare minimum for the Kansas City Chiefs. Is that going to be good enough to win a football game today? We'll find out. The banged-up Buffalo Bills just a little bit, but also one of those things that sometimes we take for granted, having a great field goal kicker in Philadelphia almost cost them the game Thursday night. But in this game with Kansas City and Buffalo, Harrison Butker not going to be in this one. So that should be one to figure out. But also in that 1 o'clock slot, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I don't know any idea why this is a 1 o'clock game. This is always the Sunday night football game live in Pittsburgh where they're smashing it out. Unbelievably cold temperatures and windy. Not the case, though, today. I think we get offense in Pittsburgh. I'm looking forward to it.
Both defenses, I think people are willing to pick on a little bit, which is not par for the course, but still sets us up for a really intriguing battle. The Chiefs and the Bills is the game we're going to get into quite a lot. And one of the aspects we will hit within this game is if Kansas City is able to get a victory at 10-0, you look at the remaining schedule, we will start the unbeaten season talk at a completely different level. The Chiefs dogs, again, I think, Donnie, one of the most interesting things is when the books have no choice. They can't make the Chiefs a 3-point favorite here. It would be ridiculous. You'd get 99% of the tickets on the Buffalo Bills, and the number would be wrong. I mean, it just would.
Yeah.
Yet, we see this time in and time out. Is that Mahomes under a field goal? When you take Mahomes under a field goal, and it almost always wins.
You look at the spot here. You love the spot for the Buffalo Bills. This is when you look at that line and say, let me make sense here. A team that's unbeaten here, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the number one overall seed if it ended today in the AFC, and they're getting points, and rightfully so. But as I started to talk to open the show, a lot of banged-up components here. Tight ends, wide receivers, something to keep an eye out for, but also, again, the kicker here for the Kansas City Chiefs. We joke about the Bear, like all they do is win the football game. They have to cover 6.5, 7.5, 9.5 in this game. It's Patrick Mahomes. I cannot fault him. I've been saying it all week. I can't fault you if you just say, Donnie, don't care about the handicap. He's getting points. It's Patrick Mahomes. Just sign me up, Joe.
We saw it a couple of weeks ago against San Francisco. They were 1.5-point dogs, 2-point dogs. They flipped right before game time. But at the end of the day, as long as you have the best player potentially on the field that won 3 Super Bowls, what more can you ask for in terms of a quarterback-centric league? I do find it intriguing how they win, right? Because it's a different player each and every week. One week it's Travis Kelce. The next week it's Kareem Hunt that leads the team in rushing and receiving. They just find ways and find weaknesses in opposing defenses to just exploit you enough to pull out the victory. Now, we saw this play out with your Philadelphia Eagles last year, right? 10-1 overall. They were living dangerously. They beat the Chiefs on the road, and they had very close games. And then at the end of the day, they lose, 1 of 5 games down the stretch. So there's always that potential with Kansas City that once they do get exploited and lose that potential first game, maybe they do lose a couple in a row. It hasn't happened yet, but Buffalo is the type of team to do it.
Every year in the NFL, we see a team whose record doesn't really match up to what they are. You mentioned Philly last year. How about Minnesota the season before that? Yeah. That 13-win team that everybody knew was fraudulent and ended up actually getting Daniel Jones that contract for the New York. I'm being serious. Right. That's how he ended up getting that contract. The Pittsburgh Steelers that season that they were unbeaten and everybody knew it wasn't legit. the reason that people don't talk about the Chiefs in that same fashion is that's where Mahomes factors in. Is it's hard to sit there and think Kansas City is going to be a fraud who's going to lose 5 straight and get eliminated in the opening round of the postseason. Some other different things that we will hit on today include an NFC North battle that a few weeks ago in Chicago I would have thought would have had monster implications for the NFC's playoff picture. It has some, because Green Bay's in the race. Chicago, not so much. The worst performance that the Bears have not only had all season, but in quite some time, all things considered. At home, against the Patriots, held to 3 points. An embarrassing performance that led to Shane Waldron being fired. And Lisi, I think maybe the meat in the middle for you and I is 1 out of 2 that need to go. Waldron the first. Eventually, Matt Eberflus will be the second.
Yeah, they lose this game today. There's the potential he might not be the coach, I don't think, next week. Thomas Brown will take over the play-calling duties for Waldron. Supposedly, and we saw this play out with Carolina last year or a couple of years with Reich, where he took over the duties. He wants to run the football. I don't think that could be the case today going up against Jordan Love. Green Bay rested. They're coming out of a bye. The dominance that they have had over Chicago with Jordan Love, and not just Jordan Love, but, their former quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. They've won, 10 straight in terms of the series. But more importantly, Chicago's lost 3 straight games, guys, by an average margin of defeat of 13 points per game. Last 2 games, 4 field goals. You need a better effort today. We'll see how it plays out. I expect points in this matchup. Do lean to Green Bay, but a divisional game where basically you're getting a touchdown, people will be back in the Bears today.
You know what's interesting about this one, too? Like, we were singing the praises here of that Bears offense for a while. 24 points against the Rams, 36 points against the Panthers, 35 points against the Jags. And the bottom fell out. 15 points, 9 points, and 3 points. That's how you get your offensive coordinator fired. Because coming into the season, I don't think anybody was worried about the Bears offense. Did we think they would be a juggernaut? Maybe not, but they have a rookie quarterback. 3 legitimate wide receivers, good running game, and a solid tight end, and a decent offensive line. You should be putting up way more points than 15, 9, and 3. I don't know how high that spectrum is today, but I think, as I like to say, Kevin, I got a pretty good running mate with Green Bay coming today with decent temperatures and weather in Chicago. There's nowhere to believe that the Chicago Bears can't bounce back and have a game where they stay inside that number, 5.5 to 6, or at least put up some points today.
It'll be interesting because that that Green Bay spread on the road under a touchdown, sometimes people could see vulnerability there for an upset. Similar story for Minnesota, who are now going to Tennessee, and that line dropping from 6.5 down to around 5.5. And for the Detroit Lions, a different story. They're a 14-point favorite today against the Jaguars, and while the Lions are a story, I'm not sure they're the bigger story. A pre-firing essentially made where a heavy report from Ian Rappaport basically let us know that if the inevitable happens of a Jacksonville loss, then they're going to be firing Doug Peterson. Any thoughts on the fact that they essentially already told us he's fired?
Yeah, I think it dates back to last year. 8-3 start. They limp down the stretch. They win 1 of 6 games. They missed the playoffs. The way they started this year, the blowout losses, especially Monday night in primetime against the Bills. We covered that game. That really got all eyes, I want to say, on the product and the regression of Trevor Lawrence, Donnie. It's not like they're putting up points each and every week. Trevor Lawrence is coming into his own from an offensive perspective, and you could say, all right, we could build around. He's regressing from what we saw in the early part of last season. And again, playmakers aren't stepping up to help this offense right now.
No, they're not. And also, you take a look at Doug Peterson now with Mac Jones at quarterback on the road against, for me, the best team overall in the NFC. It's one of those games where you might be able to measure this. Did the team actually quit on them? I mean, I don't know if professional athletes quit, but it's a bad spot to say we need a good performance against one of the best teams in football.
Listen, I know that they're not up there judging off the Patani. They played Green Bay, Philly, and Minnesota. They lost by 3, by 5, and by 5. They covered all those football games. Like, they haven't quit on them. They're hanging, they're covering, they're competing. I'm a little confused by that situation. We go to Kansas City and Buffalo next on Pro Football Today.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. with 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus a Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live to right here, it is Pro Football today with a massive game in the AFC. Josh Allen was asked during the week if this was a big game. He said it's just Week 11. Josh Allen is lying.
Yeah.
And it's not that the Buffalo Bills would prove anything of major substance if they win this, because they've beaten Kansas City plenty of times in the regular season. It's not about that. It's not about proving anything. It's about the 1 seed. It's about not having to go to Arrowhead at the end of your season. That's what it's about. If you're the Buffalo Bills sat there at 8-2 and the Kansas City Chiefs are sat there at 9-0, a win today puts you a win away. And you would own the tiebreaker. This is a massive game. Make no mistake about it. You could arguably shift the Buffalo Bills to conference favorites if they win this game because of what it would represent. Because everybody is waiting for the bottom to fall out on the way the Chiefs are playing. So sorry, Josh Allen. This is a very important game. It's not just another week. So tell me, Lisi, when you dive into this game, what are you looking for?
I look for the defense of the Buffalo Bills, and that's going to be where this game is going to be won or lost. If they could force turnovers against Pat Mahomes, they did, and force 3 interceptions against Joe Flacco last week, shut down the rushing attack of Kareem Hunt. I think they're going to be in this matchup. That is the key for me in terms of this ball game. It's not the offensive side of the ball. We know Josh Allen can run it. He can fling it through for 280. It's what do you get out of this defense overall, especially with limited weapons for the Kansas City Chiefs. This isn't even last year's team, right? It's a watered-down product, but all they do is win. We saw Denver contain them for much of the game last week, right? Get it to a low-scoring game. You get that type of effort out of Buffalo, they're going to win and cover this number. So it is the defensive front going up against the rush. They allowed well over 100 yards to Jonathan Taylor. They were up early in that matchup, gave up some garbage touchdowns, but they need to force turnovers early and often and give Josh Allen opportunities. And without Kincaid in that lineup, it has to be Amari Cooper today, guys, offensively.
He's finally got to step up, banged up with that wrist injury. But for me, you look at the ticket count in this game. Basically, 9 out of every 10 tickets coming in on Kansas City. For me, Kansas City is a better offense coming in today, a little bit more healthy than the Buffalo Bills, and the better defense overall. So you say, well, what gives here? It's a great spot for the Buffalo Bills. And as Kevin pointed out, this is one of those games where you can look to as a springboard to your season. Oh, no, Donnie, Buffalo's having a great season. Buffalo's not having a great season. They lose the football game today because the expectations for Buffalo over the past couple of years is AFC championship game or bust, and they just haven't gotten to that picture yet. And the team you need to climb over, it always feels like, is the Kansas City Chiefs. You win this football game today, you get the momentum, you get the tiebreaker if you need it later in the the season. But also, that -1.5 that opened up as a favorite towards Kansas City as a look-ahead line, now all disappeared and obviously close to a 3-point favorite now for the Buffalo Bills on the opposite side. Most outlets here sitting at 2.5. Early in the week, I got to tell you, I was all Buffalo build up. And as the week goes on, guys, I'm starting to lean more to Kansas City at this point just because of the injuries. If you were to give me Kincaid healthy in this game, Amari Cooper 100% healthy, Keon Coleman, I'd have a completely different outlook, Kevin, for me right now.
So that, to me, Donnie, is kind of the thing I was going to, disagree on. But I know, as you go through it, I don't think it's a good spot for Buffalo. I think it's a much better spot for Kansas City. I understand that they're missing Butker, and that could be hard to quantify because – I don't know, with kickers.
Well, maybe more aggressive on the Kansas City offense today.
Yeah, we'll see.
Whoa.
I think it is possible, right? But they're missing. They're always missing Pacheco. Kareem Hunt's been just as good as Isaiah Pacheco. All these guys have been missing. Buffalo, a team that I felt was short on weapons coming into the year, right? Makes the move for Amari Cooper. All right, well, he just doesn't play football. I don't know what's going on there. He's he's never playing. Keon Coleman was starting to break out. He's injured. Dalton Kincaid, usually old reliable.
Yeah.
He's injured. This is a banged-up football team. No Matt Milano still going for them. Orlando Brown a little bit is questionable heading into this football game as well. So I don't feel like Buffalo's not full gas. Buffalo's home, but you're playing Kansas City off of one of their worst performances of the season, which I also think is really important to factor in. Kansas City has only been held under 22 points twice this season. They've scored 26 or more in 6 out of their 9 games. The last time Kansas City was coming off of a game sub 20 points, they scored 26 against the New Orleans Saints at home in a primetime Monday nighter. I expect the Chief offense to get going. But I think for me, despite Buffalo being banged up, I see no reason to think they won't do their part. They've scored 30 points or more in 7 out of 10 games in all 4 of their home games so far this season. I know this is sometimes fallen short for me in a few big games because you can't have nice things when it's a big game when it comes to betting, but I'm on over 46 here. I think this total is at least a field goal light. I understand both defenses have talent, but I think the fact that we're impressed by both these defenses somehow is able to limit the expectations of two offenses that have consistently had the goods this season, relatively speaking. Again, Kansas City, 26 or more in 6 of 9. That's consistent. They don't have a lot of the 30-plus point performances we look for the top teams, but Buffalo does here, Joe. I expect a lot of offense in this game.
I do, too. I think you can get me over the 46.5. The fact that it's a late game is buying me in. I have time to get into that depending upon how the 1 o'clocks go. I'll say this about the offensive philosophy for Buffalo. Josh Allen, rushing yards, 36.5. They are lethal when he's running and throwing the football, right? 280 last week, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But I think he has to get into the 50s or 60s. When they have won these games in Arrowhead, right, and he's dominated in the regular season, 3-0 overall, he's running the football. He's making plays with his legs. He's tucking and running it. He's putting and stressing that defense, on the perimeter. That opens up everything, especially without limited weapons. Without the tight end, we know Knox is there, but he's nowhere near where he was a couple of years ago. He's going to have to do more. So that's why I think the key for the rushing attack is Josh Allen. I expect him to step up. Anytime touchdown, Donnie, plus 135, I think it has value. Again, 46.5 might be a light number today.
I think it is, too. And also, you bring up a point there with Josh Allen. He's not saying it during the week. He's saying the right things. I'm not getting myself too hyped up. But you're telling me right now, 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line, he's scrambling out of the pocket. He's not trying to bulldoze through 2 guys to get into the end zone himself. I think you get that Superman effort today. Also, keep in mind, you know me, I love my weather. You're taking a look at a game in mid to late November in Buffalo. It's usually freezing cold. How about 51 degrees at kickoff? How about no rain at all in the forecast and winds under 5 miles an hour?
Great.
Why can't we launch tonight?
Yeah.
Why can't we?
You mentioned the rushing props for the day. I'm not saying I'm playing under, but they have taken those 2 quarterbacks in Mahomes and Allen and put playoff props on them. Those numbers are way elevated week over week. And it's not because, Buffalo can't stop mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's because usually when these two play in the playoffs, you juice those numbers up. Maybe they'll meet in the playoffs, and maybe they'll meet in the playoffs, and Kansas City will be unbeaten. Can this team go 17-0? We'll talk about it next right here on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheeks as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here on SportsGrid, and I wanted to have the chance to have this conversation before maybe Buffalo does do their job today, win the game they're favored to win, because then it'll be spoiled. But can Kansas City actually do it? Can they have an unbeaten regular season? If you are enamored with the GOAT conversation in the football world, it's far less popular than in the NBA world, though. Due to the effectiveness of the NBA one, they try and do it in the NFL all the time. And Mahomes is, this generation's the one they argue, though it's not as if Brady is from decades ago. He was beating Mahomes not all too long ago in Super Bowls and conference championship games. But I guess for Pat, the one thing he could do that Tom wasn't able to do was go unbeaten and finish it off with a Super Bowl. Again, if you're enamored with the GOAT stuff, if Mahomes wins a third straight Super Bowl and caps it off with an unbeaten season, that would be pretty remarkable. But it would begin by going 17-0 in the regular season. They are currently plus 750 to do so. Now, if you like the Bills today, then this is irrelevant. But let me first ask you, Donnie, what you make of that number, needing an additional 8 wins to cash that ticket.
They probably won't, because why? Nobody does it outside the 72 Dolphins. So we're not going out on a limb here saying, I don't think they can make it. And that's a hot take at this point. No, they have a couple spots coming up, which includes today might be the biggest hurdle of them all. Now, later in the season, they'll take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, probably still fighting for either the division and or playoff seeding. That's going to be a tough one. Then the Denver Broncos to end the season, which the Broncos on the road just might need that game. But let's be honest with ourselves. The simple question here, what would you rather bet this year? 17-0 or a Super Bowl championship? To me, I'd actually rather bet the 17-0, as crazy as that sounds, because I don't think they're the best team in the NFL, which means, yes, they can manage the rest of the schedule. Now, do I think they're going undefeated? No, but I would rather bet that way, because once they get into the playoffs, I understand last year. They beat the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Baltimore Ravens. They beat the San Francisco 49ers. I just don't think they're talented enough to win it again. And look, of course they can win it. There's a couple teams that can win it. Yeah. But if I'm just looking from a betting spot, Joe, I'd rather bet them in the regular season than in the playoffs, if that makes sense.
It's a tough one, because I look at the schedule and I would go the other way. And again, it's something that, I would rather take them big picture, Super Bowl or bust, because when they do get into the playoffs, they seem to kick it up to another gear, and it is Mahomes. The 3 games that scare me for the 17-0 are the last 3 games of the regular season. Texans, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. The back-to-back road games with all 3 of those teams, 3 playoff teams right now. So, and that's the biggest thing, I think, when you look at the big picture for the 17-0 outside of today. They still have the Chargers. They've owned the Chargers, but LA's playing very well at 6-3 overall. They have more of an offensive identity in the passing attack with Justin Herbert, so you can never say never, even though the game is in Arrowhead. So potentially there's 5 roadblocks that you wouldn't be shocked about if they lost, right? So that's why, the 17-0, Brady couldn't do it, the full way. That team is similar in my regard when he was there with Randy Moss to this team, right? Kelsey is aging. They have some older veterans on the defensive side of the ball. But again, I would take the longer-term approach, Super Bowl or bust, because I honestly think the 17-0 will catch up to them.
So I do as well, because they have shown that it's going to catch up to them. They, again, shoulda, woulda, coulda last week to the Denver Broncos.
But the Patriots, when they did it, were hammering teams. Every week, gas pedal, blow you out by 30 points. We're not getting that with Kansas City.
No, that's the thing with – no, we're not sure if we're watching the best team in football with the Kansas City. Nobody thinks, even the people who pretend, that this is like a all-time great football team. And now they're a dynasty, but I'm talking about this current iteration of Kansas City. I agree with you guys. I'm not all that interested in a plus 750 ticket. I am fascinated at what that number looks like if they get through today, knowing they will be booked as favorites the rest of the way. The number that I would look at, and I know you guys are going to tell me I'm nuts, it's actually the 13-1 for their first loss to be next week at Carolina.
Oh,
I understand. I understand. First of all, I know I'm getting a good number, right? Because that number's out already. The Carolina money line is plus 440. I'm getting triple that number. Now, it involves Kansas City winning as a dog today. If you still put those 2 items in a parlay calculator, you're beating the number. And also, I just wonder, we talk about hangover spots and letdown spots, and if Kansas City gets this win in Buffalo and they come out sleepy, Panthers are playing better. They're at home off a bye. At 13-1, that would be the way I'd give it a shot.
No,
Numbers make sense.
We saw it with San Francisco. Get the win on the road, and then they didn't cover against Las Vegas.
Steelers-Ravens. It's next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was
that's
looking
what your
down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting Above the Rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here. It is Pro Football Today. And as we said off the top, great games throughout the slate. So really nice job, actually, Donnie, where I understand that you maybe feel Ravens-Steelers is not getting prime positioning.
Yeah.
I don't mind when we have great games in all three windows, and I really do believe that's what we have today with the 1 o'clock champion being this game in Pittsburgh between the Ravens and the Steelers. Allow me to just set this stage and say, in the way, Donnie, we talk about Chiefs games over a touchdown, don't waste your time. Just grab the points and just watch them pull it out at the end. That's been the story if a team is laying over a field goal in Baltimore-Pittsburgh. Almost never can the team who is supposed to win actually win by that margin, especially in the Harbaugh-Tomlin era. And these two have been doing it for these respective organizations year in and year out. I looked at this game, and I like the spot for Baltimore. I do. But I can't stare in the face of what has just been one of the most consistent trends in football of Pittsburgh will find a way. Considering the Ravens this year are 3-2 on the road, and 2 of those wins are by 3 exactly, I think I'd rather just go out there and try and bet Baltimore by 3 exactly. It's a great game with a lot of implications. What are you expecting from your boy Russell Wilson?
I expect a lot out of Russ. And the hashtag "Let Russ Cook." This is what you got him for. You're notoriously it's hard to run the football against the Baltimore Ravens. Case in point, it is again this year. You have to open up that passing game, which I believe Russ will be able to do. Mike Williams gets limited snaps last week, but a big play for a touchdown. He should be more involved today. Pickens absolutely on the outside and Freiermuth. But let's be honest about what the Pittsburgh Steelers season entails right now. You might not think this is tough. Started last week with the Commanders on the road, put out a great victory. Now you take on the Ravens, but this is the start of 4 straight divisional games. Now you might also say, well, Donnie, 2 of those divisional games are against the Baltimore Ravens. These are rivalries that date back. And they say, okay, well, what happens after those 4 game guys? At the Eagles, at the Ravens, home to the Chiefs, home to the Bengals to end the season. So as good as the season has been going for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it could get quickly derailed, specifically what they lost today. I love the spot for them, Joe, because for me, I think the passing game can move the football against the Ravens. Because why? Everybody's been doing that against the Ravens.
Yeah, we'll see. 233.5 is his number today, and you hit me on the side, Donnie, with Mike Williams. I tried to get the number last week. It was 11.5, 1 reception, 32 yards, and a touchdown. 19.5 is his total today. So we'll keep an eye out on that. He could be a major factor. A couple of series trends you want to throw out. 7 games, they've averaged 30.5 points per game. I understand total. Those are totals, right? So I understand both offenses are a little bit, more high explosive this year, obviously with Derrick Henry and what we see with Russell Wilson in the passing attack. But, 18.5 points higher than what basically the average is. I actually like the under here, even though both offenses are cooking. Pittsburgh has won 4 straight. They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 12.8 points per game. On the flip side for Baltimore, they've won 7 of 8, guys. Yeah. They've scored 28 or more in every game outside the Cleveland game where they scored 24, right? So the trend seems over. I like under. I think it's going to come down to Baltimore and their rushing attack. I think Henry eats today. I know that goes right into the strength of Pittsburgh, but I'm not I believe that Baltimore is the more complete team. Mm-hmm. They get this victory. They're cooking with fire again. I'm laying the 3, and I'm taking the under.
So I was going again into this game, and I do think that Baltimore's in a good spot because I guess I just fundamentally believe they're better than Pittsburgh. And the Steelers get that nice win over Washington. Give them credit for that. I think maybe a touch of shine comes off when you saw what Washington looked like on Thursday, where maybe that Commanders team is being figured out. There's some very damning trends out there around what happens to Cliff Kingsbury when we hit the November portion of a season, which is, again, a very interesting thing that we'll see if it sustains. But then as I dove more and more into this game, and I remembered that Washington game, Lisi, where I was way in on Jaden Daniels throwing. Mm-hmm. He didn't get there. Now, partly because, Johnny Newton jumps off sides, we don't get the football back, and Jaden Daniels would have been able to get there. So in comes the Lamar Jackson passing prop of 237.5. And when it comes to the best players in sports, I'm talking all sports, right? Usually, books are not going to allow you to beat them consistently with the best player. But sometimes they just cannot catch up. There was a stretch run I remember when Joel Embiid, Donnie, last year went over his points prop every game.
30.
They didn't know he was going to score 40 every night. It was impossible to believe. Well, Donnie, Lamar Jackson is the MVP favorite. Lamar Jackson is one of the most famous players in football. Lamar Jackson has a passing yards prop of 237.5. Lamar Jackson is averaging 300 passing yards a game in the last 6 weeks, with his fewest yards being thrown, 280. But they still don't. Come on, it's Lamar. He's not Mahomes. He's not Burrow. He's not Herbert. He's not Josh Allen. No, he's Lamar Jackson. He's one of the best players in this league, and he is having an unbelievable season throwing the football against the Pittsburgh secondary. I'm still willing to test, Joe. I love Lamar Jackson over 237.5.
It's a great look. I don't think that Baltimore will slow down their offense. Why? Because that's their identity this year, right? They want to push tempo. They are very confident in terms of the offensive scheme. We see Rashad Bateman come on, and the wide receiver, Zay Flowers, always a main option. We saw Mark Andrews in terms of Thursday night get multiple catches, right, over 60 yards. So now you have the whole passing tree open at your disposal for Lamar Jackson. We got Justice Hill and those running backs coming out of the backfield, right? So now when that happens, you get the defense thinking pass. Now you could utilize the RPO game. Derrick Henry's open. So I think it's a great look. I think this game will be dictated by Pittsburgh. And I know Donnie's all in on Russ, but I think they really have to say to ourselves, and I know it's a 233.5 number, and Baltimore's weak in the secondary, but are we still built to go toe-to-toe offensively with Baltimore on every possession? Or do we want to dial it back a little bit, sustain drives, get this into a lower-scoring game? The fact that we're at home, and I'm not suggesting 16-13, but low 20s where we're under the number.
It could be. I mean, it's a rock'em sock'em, series that these guys tend to have each and every year in these two games. It'll be interesting to see it play out, but also those other ways to bet these football games. Because I can't sell you on the Pittsburgh Steelers, as Joe points out. Is there any point in your mind that you think Russ can throw for 189 yards and pick up a victory against Baltimore today? For me, it's no. Same thing with T.J. Watt on defense. To record a sack today, minus 125. Tell me at the end of the game if T.J. Watt doesn't have a sack, if that bodes well for that defense. It doesn't. So if you can't be sold on saying, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers win this game outright, there's no way for me they can win this game without Russ going over 200 yards or more passing, which will put him in the realm to get that passing prop, and T.J. Watt to record a sack today.
One thing that jumped out to me is Pittsburgh has allowed the opposing lead back to score 4 straight, 5 out of 6. So what is that?
Perfect lead back
minus
today.
500? Is it Blake Corum numbers from 3 years ago?
So it's funny, right, Lisi? But if it was college, I'd be like, listen, the value on Henry is unreal. That's what I did with Frazier yesterday, right? I'm like, guys, like minus 150 should be 300.
Right.
Henry probably should be minus 300 to score. He scored in every single game this year. One thing I was playing around with some stuff, if you guys are willing to bet the Lamar stuff, with Lamar for 200 passing yards, Henry for a touchdown was plus 105, right? So there's a few different things that you can play around with there. And I also know, I mean, listen, it's just kind of the nature of betting in 2024, right, Donnie? Everybody's betting, parlays. Everybody's got touchdown scorer boost, Lisi. Henry is a great, safe type of anchor. Now, famous last words, he's now dead to rights, no chance to score, but he checks every box.
He does check every box. I'll give you one guy because he was close to pay dirt. I was on him. I'm not going to probably bet him. Lamar. The fact that he was so close on that touchdown that gave Donnie the Derrick Henry touchdown run, he might hit plus money. Lamar might be a good option offensively.
Can we get a little Keaton action today? One of the best young running backs in the NFL. My goodness.
You're still in on
Keaton. They didn't put him in last week against Cincinnati.
Saving him up for today.
If they use Keaton a little more today, all of a sudden DRS will have those Ravens futures locked and loaded. We're going to keep the AFC North in the mix here. A Cincinnati team that doesn't have a chance to win the North, but still has a chance to make the playoffs. Is that true, though, if they drop this game to the Chargers? We'll break that down next for you right here at SportsGrid Pro Football Today.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, now we get to a game that shouldn't have as much stakes considering the records. I don't know. Lisi, I might argue it has more stakes than the other two.
Oh.
Pittsburgh's getting in. Baltimore's getting in. Buffalo's getting in. Kansas City's getting in. Is Cincinnati getting in the mix? Once your team. Once your guy, Joe Burrow.
Here we go.
Well, no,
LSU
it's not.
loses
Wow.
yesterday in the swamp.
Wow.
And
Well,
the digs are
Jaden
coming
Daniels,
out.
terrible
It
quarterback
started.
now.
This is a bad week for LSU, by the way.
So you know
Daniels
what,
Thursday
then?
night. This could be the smash job.
All right, so then now I sit by and wait to hear what you have to say because now I'm collecting data. The Chargers are a 1-point favorite here on a Sunday night against the Bengals. What do you like, Joe?
I'm going to go with Cincinnati one last time. I am. One last time. No, I mean, I didn't. I am. One last time. Wait, I bet against them this year. No, first of all, I didn't bet them all year. I was against them against Washington. Let's get it right. What I mean, one last time is their backs are against the wall. They're 4-6 right now. They lose this game, they are out of the playoffs completely. They had a shot last week on the Thursday night with Lamar and Baltimore. They should have won the game. They should have had the flag in terms of the 2-point conversion where they hit Burrow's helmet, no call. But again, they played well enough to win. And if they get that type of effort today, I think they're going to pull out the victory. Not going to be easy, but I'll take the slight road dog here going up against Justin Herbert. They're both playing very well right now.
They are both playing very well. I just love the coaching staff there, certainly for the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he has absolutely turned this team around in one season, getting that foundation settled and with a legitimate chance now to make the playoffs. I think Herbert does have a big game tonight, but it does come down to, you saw the dominance of Jamar Chase over the past couple weeks. T. Higgins supposed to come back here, which adds that extra level of, oh, you want to double one guy? We'll torch you on the opposite side with T. Higgins. But this is a tough spot for them. And I said before, and I do have a small wager in on Cincinnati making the playoffs, whether they go 1-2 over the next 3 games they had. They lost to the Ravens 35-34. They need this victory, but if they don't, they do have the bye week coming in, and then they're going to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, which I think that's a winnable game. For me, Joe, I look at this and say, who has to absolutely be a monster? It's got to be Burrow again. He's got to throw for 325-plus and multiple touchdown passes.
Absolutely. That's why I do lean to Cincinnati. They are a better road team than they are at home, obviously, 3-2. If they would have picked up that
25-4?
Yeah. Woo! If they would have picked up that victory on Thursday night, I mean, they would have been basically 4-1 on the road, right? It comes down to that. I mean, can Jamar Chase and Burrow eat in this matchup? And we saw Will Levis have some success. Great call by you. I know you said we would get over that total. It took, 59 minutes and 30 seconds to get there. But you still put up 17 points. I don't want to take away from what Jim Harbaugh has done. They're 6-3 right now. They've won 3 straight by 15 points per game. The offensive identity, we might have points because that passing attack is starting to come around with Justin Herbert, Palmer, Disley, and Quentin Johnson as well. And I expect Joe Burrow to push tempo, Kev. But I'm with Donnie. It's got to be Chase, Burrow. It's got to be the big 3 tonight.
So I'll start by saying I am on the under on this game at 48. You mentioned the Chargers total last week. That is the first game all season where there's been 40-plus points scored in a Charger game. I understand that Cincinnati has played some absolute shootouts. They're a high-tempo team who last week played Baltimore, who's a high-tempo team. I went through this, not to throw you guys on the spot, but I was thinking, who are the most over teams in football? Great offense, vulnerable defenses.
Baltimore.
Well, Baltimore and Cincinnati might be 1 and 2. I think Atlanta would probably be in the mix somewhere, right? So when you come off of like that 10-bell, all right, we can just throw bombs, I think that can then shoot up a total a little bit higher than it should be. So I'm taking a chance on the under. Here's one of the interesting things, though, about the stakes of this game. If you're the Chargers and you win it, you should be good. You should be in the clear. You should be a playoff team. You should feel like you are in that Pittsburgh level of, okay, you're probably not going to win your division. Yeah. That's just what the odds say about the Steelers. They could flip that perception today, but you're going to get in. With Cincinnati, Joe, they are in the somebody's got to get in class. Hear me out, Joe. A loss today, right?
Yeah.
They fall to 4-7. You signing up for Denver? You signing up for Indianapolis? You signing up for the Miami Dolphins? Someone's got to get the 7th spot.
I go back to what Donnie kept saying when they were, didn't have a win at home, right? How many more times can you get off the mat, right? They lost to some garbage teams, right?
Yeah.
And the longer that you continue to lose later in the season, knowing the situation with Chase and Higgins, they're going to be checked out. It's like you can only sell it to a certain point, right?
Sure.
So it's like, all right, week 11, right? We're selling this game. We get this victory. We're back in the mix. We're 5-6 overall. Hey, once we get to 500, we could get to maybe 9 or 10 wins. You lose this, now it's like, another 3 games before 500, right, Donnie? Yeah. And then it's like, at some point these guys are going to be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. The team is out. I got to worry about me, and I'm going to shut it down. That is the only concern. That's why I put a lot of premise on this game and just thinking that if they lose this game and lose it bad, let's just say by 10 points or more, they might be checked out the rest of the way.
And also, when we flip it back over to the Chargers side of things, yes, I agree with Kevin. They're careening towards the playoffs, but let's just understand something. They lose this game today to the Bengals. They now have the Ravens, at the Falcons, at the Chiefs, the Bucks, who probably have Mike Evans back, and then the Broncos and Patriots to end the season. But let's take a look in totality, the 3 teams they beat here, which is what we love about it. Hey, look, you can only play who's in front of you. Saints, Browns, Titans. No offenses between those 3 teams that the Chargers now going to face one of the elite offenses and elite quarterbacks in football, which is why I actually think we get points. If you ask Harbaugh what he wants to do, yes, give up 8 points, 10 points, and 17 and win it easy. I don't think that's the case today. Justin Herbert, for me, I look to have a big day to be the catapult on that offense.
I think it's a good point, though, with L.A., right, Donnie? Because let's go a step further. The other 3 wins are at Denver, at Carolina, and home against Vegas. I mean, there's no
correct. Yes.
There's no college football style. This is very Indiana, right? There's not a lot on here.
Or Notre Dame.
Sink your teeth. No, Notre Dame has got some good wins. It's just that would be if the Chargers lost that game to Carolina, quite frankly. But we leave it where it is. The thing that I'm pointing out, and I'm not sitting here telling you I'm running to bet Cincinnati at 4-7 to make the playoffs. I'll be interested though,
right?
Because right now, if you look at it. The over 500 teams, we're expecting them all to get in, right?
Right.
That would include the Chargers even again, off of a loss. It's just the expectations. There aren't that many over 500 teams in the AFC right now. There is this clear drop-off that we have. So we'll take a little bit of a look at some of those odds for the teams like the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Colts, as we button up our opening hour here Sunday morning on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus a Villanova team that, folks, I gotta take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, it is Pro Football Today with the AFC really grabbing the slate right by the throat here, and a lot of the top teams are in action. But I'm telling you, we are in this scenario where teams will lose, and you'll go, they are done. They are done. We're firing coaches. And some of them, that will absolutely be true. Make no mistake about it. There are a bunch of AFC coaches whose jobs are on the line. Doug Peterson today, a Jaguars team that was supposed to be in the mix, could very well be done by 4:30 here after their game in Detroit. But we're not looking at Jacksonville to make the playoffs. But, man, the teams that we're looking at, I can't believe we're looking at. Cincinnati at 4-6 or even at 4-7. Denver at 5-5. The Colts at 4-6 who were dogs today against the 3-7 Jets. How about the Miami Dolphins there? Lisi, again, I understand. They're 3-6 right now.
Second
but
place.
Having 6 losses is about all you need to feel like you are actually in the mix, and they're a 7-point favorite today. I'm going to go to you first, Don, just because I know that you and I have talked about this scenario once before a few years back in an NL wildcard race where again, it was a very fun season. I'm like, Donnie, I think they're getting in. You're like, they're terrible. I'm like, you're right. They're still getting in because they have to put another team in that playoff spot. And that is what we are getting in the AFC right now.
No, we are getting that. And also, case in point, the Miami Dolphins. They are dead in the water. They can't make the playoffs. They're horrible. It is a joke that they're actually in second place officially in the AFC East with the record they have. But let's take a look. They went on the road and beat the Rams. I didn't think they would beat the Rams. I thought they would be dead and buried at the end of the season, and Tyreek Hill would actually be getting surgery on his wrist, and you'd never hear from the rest of the way. They play the Raiders today at home, followed by the Patriots at home. You stack on 2 more wins there, they're starting to believe again. Now, granted, you go on the road against the Packers, which would be a tough one, but then you get the Jets the following week, who, again, are fighting for those same spots. So it is kind of interesting where you try to be dead and buried on some of these teams, and case in point, Kevin, again, is talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Out on them to start the season to make the playoffs for me, out on them after 3 weeks to make the playoffs, and here I am late in the season going, you know what? There's a good price and a pathway. I can see them still making the playoffs. Why, Joe? Because so many teams are in the same boat here. You're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle, but the thing we get caught up in is they're there for a reason with that. Like we're saying, they can win this, they can win this. They haven't won these games, which is why they're in this spot, which makes it so tough to gauge.
It is, and, like Miami, I'm a little torn, like when you just look at the value, right, for Miami at 3-6. Yes, you believe that they could be there because of the playmakers that they have.
Yeah.
But we watched that game play out on Monday night. Defensively, that was one of their best efforts all season long. Now I have concerns offensively. Is Tyreek 100%? Is he the same player? They can't get him the same type of opportunities for some reason since Tua got hurt early on in the season. I don't know why. It was more Jalen Waddle as the primary wide receiver for that offense outside of Tyreek. Now, Tyreek did score, but again, I don't know how that's going to play out over the course of the regular season. And again, are we going to get that type of effort defensively from Miami week to week to week? I don't see it. I'm refusing right now at this point to buy in. And I actually think the Raiders potentially coming off the bye are live with the 7 today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were saying to make the playoffs.
No. Are live today. Rested. They've lost 5 straight. So I want to see that defense come into form. They dominate today. They win by 14, 17 the way they're supposed to. And that defense shuts down Gardner. I might take Donnie's take and say, you know what, this is a playoff caliber team.
I just think this is one of those things, right? And we see this all the time within sports books where there's 7 spots available and there's 9 teams at a minus price to make it go well. Now, hold on a second. We don't have 7 teams at a minus price. Cincinnati's plus 138, Denver plus 190, Colts are plus 225, and Miami is plus 285. You want to get crazy? The Jets are plus 710. I don't know if we still want to keep doing that dance. But again, here's the thing. The Colts price says they're in the mix. They're a 4-point dog to the Jets today. If the favorite comes in, the Jets and the Colts have the same exact record.
Yeah.
Again, if the favorites come in, the Jets will have the same record as the Cincinnati Bengals. That's where we are right now. And Joe, trust me, I don't want to be the person sitting here telling you the Jets can make the playoffs. I find everything they've done to be a complete abomination. But it is one of those things, man, that someone is going to get in.
Yes.
Someone's going to get in. Cincinnati's going to go to minus if they beat the Chargers tonight. But that coin flip game, if it lands tails, it opens up the field.
You're right. So I'll take it a step further. The eye test, right? In terms of how Cincinnati, for me, out of all those, passes the eye test because they've gone toe-to-toe. Yeah. Seeing what I saw play out offensively for Aaron Rodgers, they're dead to me.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into their game a little bit later, but we're going to take a look at the rookie quarterbacks because, man, it has already been a season for that group, and it's next with you right here on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. That's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus a Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.